What's up guys, and welcome back to Move Plus. I hope you had an awesome day. Having a look at that warm up now guys, we're gonna kick things off with 1 minute of cardio of your choice. We're gonna go with a box jump over. So we've picked a nice low box and we'll just be going side to side, but you guys can get creative, do your own thing there. Once we clear that part, the next 2 minutes, what we're gonna do is we go 30 seconds of jumping jacks, and then we move into 30 seconds of alternating Samsons. So it's a lunge with an overhead reach. From there, the next 2 minutes will be 30 seconds of burpees, and then moving into 30 seconds of reverse lunges. So that'll be 5 minutes in total. Em, you good to go?
Yep.
All right, so starting off with that 1 minute of cardio of your choice. We're doing our box jump overs, but you can be a little creative, pick your own thing here if you want to. And go for it. So it's really important guys that when you're picking your movement for that cardio, it should be nice and continuous. So nothing too heavy where it's gonna stop you in your tracks. Nothing too technical where there's the ability to kind of break down on form. It should just be nice and simple. Very much about getting the heart and lungs cranked up. We wanna get that blood flow going through the body. So make sure it's something simple, something accessible, especially if you've come into this after having maybe sat in the car for a while driving during work or whatever it is, or at the computer. You want to allow that body just to move into it smoothly. So nice simple movement, the box over guys. Notice Em sort of jumping for the middle of the box so that she has the ability just to pivot, turn herself so she's already facing in for that next jump once she hits the ground. We've got 10 more seconds on this one. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So we're moving into this second section guys. So this is a 2 minute block. We'll see 30 seconds of jumping jacks and 30 seconds of alternating Samson stretch. Obviously we do 2 cycles of that to make up that 2 minute block. We're gonna be on the balls of the feet for these jumping jacks guys. So it's a nice springy reactive bounce and nice big shoulder swings there, getting up to overhead at the top. 5 more seconds. And moving to the Samson stretch. So we've gone from more of like a cardio-based movement to now a little bit more sort of mobility-based. So probably slowing this one down is a good idea. Make a nice long lunge, so probably a little longer than your normal setup. So if we sort of have a slightly more sort of lengthy reach with that leg, and then really trying to stretch up and over. So you'll get that stretch down the side of the lat, down into the oblique, and that'll travel right down into the hip flexor as well. 3, 2, 1, so back on jumping jacks again. So as I said, we do a second cycle of this to make up that 2 minute block. Once we've finished this second cycle, we move into the last 2 minute section, which will be burpees and reverse lunges in the same format. Okay, 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and go into Samson stretch. So if you're doing this outside, guys, maybe you're on some hard concrete, good idea to chuck like a yoga mat down just for the safety of your knee. Obviously, Em's got knee sleeves on here, that works well as well, but if you don't have those, a little bit of cushioning just so you're not scraping your knees on the hard ground. So we do want you to go all the way down, get that nice full range of motion. Okay, so about to roll into that last section. 3, 2, 1, and going into burpees for 30 seconds now. So full chest to ground position at the bottom there. You want to lay all the way down, and then at the top we're getting a small jump with a hand contact above or behind the head, making sure that the hips are nice and open as well. So it's a fully extended hip position. Okay, 10 more seconds. So our secondary movement is going to be reverse lunges, which we'll go to in about 5 seconds. All right, and go for it. So we're stepping back into this one. So similar kind of leg position to the Samson stretch, although we're gonna probably shorten this in a little bit. We went quite long with that one because we're looking for more of a mobility piece. This we're gonna go with a nice structurally sound sort of squared up position. So should see sort of 90-degree bends at all the joints. And we want to think about kind of driving that lead leg heel through the ground. 3, 2, 1, and back on the burpees. So it's a nice smooth roll down. We don't have to do like a full strict push-up. So don't stress if you don't have push-ups on the toes, guys. You don't need to do that. You can just lower the legs into it first and roll down and then roll back up again. Three, 2, 1, and into those lunges one last time. So stepping back into those. As you're doing these, guys, good idea to kind of cast the eyes down every now and then. Check that your knee and your toes are kind of pointing in the same direction, so we're tracking really well. Sometimes people have the tendency to have the foot splayed out a little bit and that knee collapses inwards, so we want to try and correct that if we need to. Three, 2, 1, and done. All right, so guys, that is the warm-up done. Have a bit of a chill, get some recovery in, and we're gonna have a look at the build section next. Alrighty guys, so now that we're nice and warmed up, we're gonna check out the build section. So how this one is gonna look is we have 3 sets. We're gonna be operating in a 12-minute time frame. What'll happen is we're gonna start off with 45 seconds of a floor press hold. So you guys will set up on your back on the ground, so feet planted. Gonna lock those shoulder blades back in place, and then we are literally just holding that top position as a static position. We do that for 45 seconds and then rest for 15. We're gonna pop up to the next movement, which is gonna be 45 seconds of a bent over row hold. So kind of like an opposing muscle group there, holding the top position, 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off. And then we move into 1 minute of slow sit through. So we're gonna take a bear crawl style position and then rolling through nice and slow. Typically this is the kind of movement where it's almost like a rep per second. We're probably gonna go about every 2 or 3 seconds, so a deliberate slowdown with that one. Once you've completed that, we have a 1 minute rest at the end of the round. So 3 cycles through that one. Good to go? Yep. All right, starting in 10, we'll be doing 45 seconds of that floor press hold to start with. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So important with this one, guys, we're not moving through it. It's a static hold. We want to get everything set up really well. If we're going to hold the one position the whole time, we want it to look really good. So 5 points of contact. We've got feet are 1 and 2, hips are 3, shoulders are 4, and head is 5. So make sure that everything stays flat to the ground. If you feel like kind of bridging those hips or lifting the feet up or anything, keep it all planted. The main thing with the technique is make sure that those shoulder blades squeeze back together. So you're going to feel like you're kind of elevating your chest up through the middle of your arms. This is going to be kind of similar to if you've done like a push-up hold, that sort of thing. It's going to be working that same musculature, so pecs, shoulders, triceps, all that sort of stuff. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. So resting there, we'll shift to our bent over row hold in a moment. All right, 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So with this one, guys, we want to be pretty much almost at like an inverted L position. So getting as close to like a 90-degree bend at the hips as we can. That's obviously going to be subject to your flexibility through your hamstrings, but definitely a nice straight back. Now the hold is basically thinking about trying to get your elbows above the line of your body. So really squeezing those shoulder blades back together, working through the lats and all those muscles that support around the back of the shoulders there. Stance is going to be pretty narrow, so sort of thinking like hips width, a little bit of bend in the knees just to allow that nice hinge position. But everything sort of through the top end there is nice and flat, nice and straight. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right, so 15-second rest again. We're going to move to those slow sit-throughs. So remembering with this one, we're thinking about sort of maybe a 3-second rep versus a 1-second rep. And go for it. And this one's going to be a full minute. We get a full minute rest after this, but this is not a 45, it's a full 60. So nice active shoulder. She's allowing the feet to pivot as she turns through. So she's not gluing herself to the ground, otherwise that ankle and knee are going to feel like they're getting twisted a bit. So she's staying mobile, staying agile to move through this. And it's nice constant tension all the way through. So very, very controlled. This is a good way to do it anyways, guys. If you haven't done this movement much before, it's good to start off slow and get your balance, get your coordination down. Good, just past halfway. You notice that when she gets back to that middle position, she's always checking in that those knees are staying very close to the ground. Sometimes when we get tired, we want to prop those hips up higher and higher and kind of push up into like a shoulder press. rather than staying low and staying in that hard working zone. Last rep or two. 3, 2, 1, and resting. All right, so 60-second rest. Feel free to have a little bit of a move around, shake things off. We've got 2 more sets to go. Okay, 30 seconds till we start this next round. All right, 10 seconds. We'll get ourselves ready for that floor press hold. So remember setting yourself up with those 5 points of contact. We're going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So 45 seconds on. It's probably a little hard to see from there, but from the top view of Emily right now, she has the hands kind of turned, so the dumbbells sort of make like about a 45-degree angle or 90 degrees with each other, but as with the shoulders there, it's like a 45 turn. And what that is, it's a little bit of external rotation. So not only are we working sort of pecs, shoulders, triceps, we're actually going to get those lats as well to kind of engage and lock that shoulder in place. That's going to be part of that idea of drawing the shoulders back into that really strong, safe position. So right now she'll have a natural arch to her low back. She doesn't need to be completely flat. We just, as long as we keep the hips on the ground. 3, 2, 1. So 15-second rest. We'll get ourselves ready for that bent over row hold next. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. Now, along the way with this one, guys, if you find this really difficult to hold in that position, you feel yourself kind of shifting spinal position, like rounding over, maybe that chest is dropping down, just for a moment, stand up for a sec, re-engage everything, and then come back down again. It's really important we don't allow ourselves to be in a rounded spine position. You should feel as though we're kind of hanging from our hamstrings and them doing the work as far as that position. The dumbbells, that part of it is going to be your upper back, so really squeezing back with that one. Trying to keep the elbows past the line of the body. And resting. Okay, so going to the sit-throughs next. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. So looking for a really nice full leg extension. So you can see she's reaching that leg all the way through. She's not shortcutting or anything like that. She's going to lock that knee out and stretch through. When we come back to that middle part, we're seeing sort of about a shoulder width set up with the feet and the hands. And again, keeping those knees nice and low to the floor. So we're always working those quads, working that trunk, not allowing ourselves to get into an easier position. So 30 more seconds. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1, and resting. All right, so another 60-second rest, guys. We've got one more set to get through. So have a bit of a move around, get some water in. If you have the ability to adjust weights up or down and you feel that you need to, do that. And then we'll set up for this last one. Okay, 30 seconds to hit this last round. All right, 10 seconds. So we'll get ourselves ready for the floor press hold one last time. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So you want to check in, everything's in place again, lock those shoulder blades back together. I always like to imagine I'm trying to pinch a pencil between my shoulder blades. So that, as opposed to feeling like you are protracted or overreached forward from the shoulders, you feel like they're kind of peeling off the ground, or your upper back feels sort of rounded off the ground. Push back into it as if, imagine like we're pushing away from the dumbbells, trying to push the ground downwards. And the dumbbells in the actual hands themselves, we want to try and line up that weight with the wrist. So if you find yourself kind of bent back at the wrist, wind it up into a bit more of a fist. You can see Em's got a nice locked in position. She's sitting on the pad of the bottom of her palm there, which is where we want all the weight of the dumbbell. And resting. So I'm going to get yourself ready for the bent over row position one last time. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. So try to look for a nice vertical shin position with this one, guys. This should be very similar to a deadlift, or even like a Romanian deadlift style position. So very much wound back on those hamstrings. You don't have to have locked out legs. In fact, I'd suggest bending them a little bit, but just try not to let those knees drift forward. We want to try and get over the top of them and then get into that nice top position there. So 15 more seconds. Think about the scapulas drawing together. So if you find yourself kind of rounding the shoulders downwards, try and round them, like point them upwards as much as you can at the top. And resting. All right, last minute coming up on the slow sit-throughs. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. So remember, we're going with that deliberately slow tempo with this one, guys. So don't allow yourself to slip back into that kind of fast pace back and forth. We want to really spend that time under tension. So if you find yourself feeling like you're kind of almost rolling over and falling out of it, chances are you're probably going a little too quick. You should feel like you're really in control of that movement. If it helps, you might think about it like trying to do it as quietly as possible. So you're sort of thinking about how your feet are hitting the ground, how quiet can I pivot that foot on the floor, and that will kind of force you into that slow tempo. If you find that you're kind of clunking the feet down and huffing and puffing and twisting all over the place, probably going a little too quick. Last couple of reps. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, guys, that is the build section done. Have a little bit of recovery time, get some water in, and then we're gonna go through a little bit of mobility to finish off. All right, guys, now that all the hard work is done, we're just gonna cool things down with a little bit of stretching. So first drill we're gonna do is just good old-fashioned standing quad stretch. So with this one, just pulling one foot up behind. I'm gonna chuck a timer on. We'll go for 45 seconds on each side. Now, Em's got pretty good balance. That's the gymnastics background there. She doesn't need to hold on anything. If you do feel like you're kind of hopping around the place, losing balance, set yourself up by a wall or a door frame, or grab onto a friend or a partner, whatever you need to do, get that balance. But we want to try and hold the one position. A couple of key things we want to think as far as the setup is knees are going to pinch as close together as you can get them. And then you're also going to think about abs and glutes kind of contracting and sort of rolling that pelvis back a little bit, but also driving it forward through the stretch. So we're tensioning up that stretch. We'll go 10 more seconds and then we'll switch. 3, 2, 1, and changing sides. I also want to check in with this that you're trying to keep your shoulders and hips level and square to the front as well. Sometimes with these stretches, if you're really tight through that quad, especially the hip flexor, if you kind of body's trying to escape away from it, it might move on some weird angles. So try to get everything up and open, nice and flat to the front, and then breathing through it. So try to sort of push those hips through, allow it to relax off and open through there. This is going to be really important for a lot of things about explosive hip extension, so cleans, jumps, all that sort of stuff. Three, 2, 1, and that's that one done. The second one we're gonna do is gonna be the reverse. This is gonna be looking at the back side of things. So we're gonna do a staggered stance good morning. So Em's feet are right next to each other, but 1 foot in front of the other one, okay? And what she's gonna do is she's gonna hinge over and we're just gonna hold there. So again, we'll go 45 seconds each side. Okay, now where you have your hands doesn't particularly matter. If you want to go across the chest, up behind the head, reaching down, whatever you prefer. The main thing is that that back stays flat. So this is going to be the individual piece to each of you. Is some of you might be here and that might be far enough. Some of you might be here. Some of you might be right down in that nice sort of L position or up inverted L position that M's in there. So a full 90-degree bend at the hip. You're going to find that the leg that is out in front is the one that's really going to cop the stretch. So you can emphasize one side at a time. We're just hanging out there. 5 seconds. And switching. Okay, so that same setup. So the feet are basically on train tracks, but we're just going to step 1 forward, soften both knees, okay, and then push forward. The better you get at this, the straighter you're going to be able to get those knees. So if you've got really tight hamstrings, you might have to bend them quite a bit to be able to lean right over. But as you get better, you can kind of push back on them, open up those hamstrings. And done. All right, so those are the 2 drills, guys. If you have time, go through that 3 or 4 times. Give the body a good loosen up. Otherwise, we will catch you next time. That's been your MOV+ workout.